Hi, I'm Chris Cavallini. I'm a former drug dealer and I was arrested 17 times prior to my 18th birthday. Currently, I'm a Forbes featured entrepreneur and the CEO of one of the fastest growing companies in the nation. And I'm one of the passionate few. I enjoyed the interview with Omar. It was just a very organic, it was a conversation more than an interview. And I appreciated his questions. I appreciated him really be back in when I kind of, was getting off track there a little bit. And I really hope that people watching this can just gain some valuable perspective and realize that, where you're at right now is not your final destination. You just have to focus on the next thing and getting better, making improvements. And the gap between where you are now and where you want to be is bridged by the small actions you take every single day.
Welcome to this episode of the Passionate Few podcast. Today, it's your host, Omar here, and today we get to sit down and hear the incredible story of Chris Cavallini. He's the CEO and founder of Nutrition Solutions, and as a meal prep company that's doing 10 million plus in revenue, Chris talks to us about not only how he built the business by hiring ex-convicts and veterans, but also how Chris came from humble beginnings himself to the tune of being arrested 17 times before his 18th birthday. And of course, since Chris grew up in a rough situation, found himself being a drug dealer and involved with a lot of things that weren't taking his life in a healthy or positive direction. It was only once Chris enlisted into the service and became part of the Navy where he learned about the power of discipline, mindset, and doing whatever it takes to get the job done. And since, Chris has translated that work ethic into fusing his passion for fitness and helping people get in the best shape of their lives to build his company to do exactly that. So I want to encourage you guys to sit back, relax, enjoy this powerful rags to riches story of the CEO and founder of Nutrition Solutions himself, Mr. Chris Cavallini. Enjoy. Thanks for being on the show today, Chris.
Thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate the intro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate what you've done with your life's work. So let's get into it. Before you built this, company that's in the tens of millions in revenue, talk to me a little bit about your childhood, because you came from a really rough beginning growing up. So talk to me, before you became the successful entrepreneur, what was your childhood like and where were you headed before?
Yeah, so I think success is all relative, right? I definitely believe I've accomplished my fair share of successes. I don't believe or consider myself successful to this point. There's so many areas that I need to work to improve on.
Right.
But basically, I came up a little different. I was arrested 17 times prior to my 18th birthday.
Where'd you grow up?
Massachusetts, Boston. I was born in Boston and bounced around a little bit. My mom had me when she was 16.
Wow.
Super young. My dad just took off before I was even born. So I actually didn't even see a picture of him and until I connected with him when I was 34, just literally a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So I didn't have like a traditional structured upbringing and that that family support where I was able to develop in a proper way. I lacked structure, I lacked discipline, and just developed some anger issues. As a kid growing up, and I was very insecure, super insecure about a lot of things. There have been different points in my life where I didn't have. I didn't have certain luxuries, and
Right.
I've done things like steal dirty clothes out of the lost and found at school just so I had new clothes to wear.
How old were you at that time?
Probably 11 or 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I think what compelled me to do that was just hearing from other kids calling me out about wearing the same dirty sweatpants all the time, and it's that takes its toll on you, right?
For sure.
It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good to have to, stand in the free lunch line at school and have other people know. So most days I didn't eat because I didn't want anybody to see me in that capacity. So
Wow.
just developed some resentment and anger issues, and just didn't know how to act like a decent human at the time. And although I was just a kid, I wasn't a very good kid.
Right. Were you a happy kid at all or no?
And there were certain times,
Right.
But I think overall, I would have to say no, because I was always could find something to be mad about. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, my childhood wasn't just super fucked up the entire. There's these days,
Yeah.
it's more common for people to have kind of fucked up circumstances than the normal. But it just, I'm aware now looking back that, some things didn't really go like the way they normally go in the traditional sense. And as a direct consequence, I went down a certain path. When I was in high school, the way that I obtained significance was just doing really stupid shit. Like, being out at parties, getting in fights, punching holes in walls, throwing golf balls through like businesses' windows, like 2 a.m. Like,
Yeah.
just the stupid. I mean, shit that if I saw someone doing right now, I mean, I would kick their fucking ass, right?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I was that guy. That's
Yeah.
that's like the attention that I thought, made me significant. It did in the moment, but with that
Yeah.
came some consequences, and I developed a reputation. So what were you?
Oh, I was just gonna say, because consequences 17 times before you were 18, you were arrested.
Yeah. And I was arrested for things minor in possession of alcohol, trespassing. I got arrested for possession of marijuana, and it just kind of progressively started escalating. I developed a reputation with the police department in the town that I went to high school with, and
Right.
literally they would come to our parties, break up our parties, and I would be the only one they'd take to jail. And that was a
Yeah.
result of the way that I acted when they showed up.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't talk back, like run my mouth, just act like a complete fool. And that's basically the trend. My senior year, I literally, I mean, there was like a 2-month period where like every weekend I was going to jail. Finally, the state of Massachusetts got sick of seeing me in the courtroom and basically gave me an ultimatum. I could either go to jail for 7 months or join the military, and that was a legit thing.
Yeah.
To
Wow.
where and they gave me that opportunity and made it very clear that if I didn't join the military, that the charges that they had dismissed against me would come back up and this and that. So I made the decision to leave and join the military, and ultimately spent 5 of the most exciting years of my life as a Navy deep sea diver. I was in a very elite community, had the opportunity and privilege to work with and under some of the like most highly trained, decorated, individuals in all the military. And as a kid, with the circumstances that I had, that was huge for me.
Absolutely,
I was
yeah.
able to have structure and start to learn discipline. I began to receive training on things like attention to detail and just standards and things that I never thought about or like were taught to me. I mean,
How old were you when you got into it? When you went to
18.
service? 18?
Yeah, literally. I mean, like I graduated high school and barely graduated high school, and and then I shipped out like I think 4 weeks after.
Wow.
Yeah, after I graduated.
And
So-
before that, were you fit? Were you disciplined at all, or did you
So-
have any kind of disciplines?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And looking back on it, I will say yes, I was disciplined as it pertains to working out, but it wasn't because of understanding the importance of discipline. I started working out like once a week in 8th grade. I started going to the gym once a week, and I felt like that was a way that I could like do something where I could look good. Not necessarily like look good like physically, but
Yeah.
just do something that like nobody else at my age was doing. So that might offset some of the not so great things that
Gotcha,
how
yeah,
people viewed me and such. So
Yeah.
the gym was important to me, because I wanted to look good. I wanted to be physically fit. I wanted to have something about me that was significant that people looked at and could kind of say like, wow, like that's pretty
Special,
good.
yeah.
Because I had so many things that kind of went the other way.
Right.
So yeah, the gym was important to me, not only for that reason, but it also gave me like an outlet. I mean, I was a pissed off kid. It gave me an outlet to kind of channel that aggression, and that obviously has worked out, and I stayed consistent with it. And here we are, many years later. But as I said, with the military, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, not just because of the structure and discipline that was provided, but because it took me out of the place, the circumstances, and really the people that
Right, yeah.
I was around my whole life that kind of like conditioned me to be a certain way. I mean, nobody made me the way that I ultimately was, then. But I think we all can agree that we are a byproduct of our environment.
Right.
So like by being removed from there, I was able to kind of just start seeing things a little different. And although I didn't even come close to like, changing everything at that point, I did start to make some positive changes. Things started going a little better for me. Still had, those anger issues and still found myself acting a fool once in a while. But I was growing up and I had structure, and that was a good thing.
And in the Navy, did you immediately go into a world where like structure was dramatically night and day different than the freedom you had outside? I mean, talk to me about just how disciplined it was on day 1, day 2, day 3.
Yeah, so you go to boot camp, and that's like a 9-week program, and they're basically, everybody has to shave their head, everybody has to be clean shaven every day. You have to make your bed like perfectly to the as per the process.
So that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
You have to make your bed, and they check it.
But not only do they check it, I mean, you'll do 2-3 hour drills where they tear your bed apart, and then you make it, and they inspect it, and you do it again, and it's like the most miserable thing. And as an 18-year-old kid right out of high school, it's like you're not making the connection as to why they're doing that. You're just like, God, I hate these drill instructors. Yeah, it's like this is stupid and whatever. And but ultimately everything they do serves a purpose, and it's not about making a bed. It's about being consistent. It's about having consistently high standards down to the smallest of details. And that was one thing the military definitely begun to instill in me, and something that now like I've taken to a whole other level because I understand how important it is now that I've been able to apply it with other areas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so like I said, just military gave me discipline, gave me structure, gave me purpose, man. That was important for me.
Yeah.
With the circumstances that I had, previously. Ultimately, it got to a point where I could either re-enlist or, get out, and I made the decision to get out. I didn't want to leave Jacksonville. I'd found a home there, and I had some friends, good friends, and it seemed to be a good place for me, and I got attached to it in such a way where I wasn't willing to, and they offered me a lot of money at the time, $60,000. That was like $10 million now, right? Like to stay as a 23-year-old kid. But I couldn't even entertain that because I had that fear of like going somewhere where like just I didn't have good people around and just kind of going backwards. So made the decision to get out, which wasn't a strong decision because I didn't really have a plan. I was like, oh, I'll go to school, and that was a bullshit story. I really was going to school, but I was taking community college classes online, and the reason I was doing that is military has phenomenal education benefits. So if I maintained a full-time schedule, which I could somehow do with 2 online classes, they'd give me a check every month. Yeah. So like literally, the online classes consisted of me like logging in and like taking the quiz, looking up the answers in the book as I'm taking the quiz. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it was free money.
Yeah, free money, exactly. Yeah. And that was my excuse. Oh, I'm going to school. So this ultimately will end in something good, right?
Right, yeah.
Decided.
So you didn't really have a long-term intent. You were just like, let me just kind of wing it for now.
Yeah, I wanted to go. This is going to sound crazy, but I wanted to go into law enforcement.
Really?
I wanted to go in law enforcement.
You had so much experience there, you might as well.
Yeah, on the other end. Yeah. The cool part is, most of my arrest happened before my 18th birthday. So when I joined the military, a lot of that stuff didn't come up. So I thought that I would actually have a chance of being able to get in the police academy and then have this illustrious career. And
how many times were you arrested total? I know 17 before you were 18, but how many times total?
So 25. If I had to put a number, I'd say 25. Yeah.
And so you were just as a kid just a rebel, just didn't care too much about consequences.
I guess, man. I don't know. I was just a shithead. Looking back on it, I was just a shithead. For lack of a better term. Some of the punky shit that I did, it was just dude, what? That it's just not good. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Yeah, I just.
Did you get in trouble in the military at all when you went to the service?
Yes, but not with the military. I got arrested a couple times during my enlistment, and fortunately the military never found out about it. So I was never brought up on military charges.
Yeah, until now.
Yeah, exactly. But
talk to me a little bit about when you go in there. How long is it from when you go into the Navy to actually becoming a deep sea diver? What's that process?
Yeah,
because you didn't have experience swimming, so
no.
How are you picked up for that?
The first time I ever actually swam more than like a single lap was when I did the screen test for to actually qualify for dive school, and it's 500-meter swim. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was at that point the hardest thing that I'd ever done, and I actually passed my first time, which was crazy. It's basically a 500-meter swim, as many push-ups you can do in 2 minutes, as many sit-ups you can do in 2 minutes, as many pull-ups you can do, and then a mile-and-a-half run all in succession. So yeah, I passed. I mean, I was young at the time, in
agile,
decent shape. Made it happen. It was about, I think, 7 or 8 months from the time I joined the military to the time I actually had the opportunity to start dive school, because they send you through another kind of training, which is like a normalized job, and it's basically like a backup plan. At the time, I think the attrition rate at Navy dive school was like 70% or something. So if you didn't make it through dive school for whatever reason, you had a trade that you were something you were trained in, and they'd send you to the normal fleet, and you would do that job. So, I made it through dive school. It was hard for me, I was young, I was undisciplined, I didn't like getting yelled at, I didn't like, being presented with feedback. They put you through some very, very hard scenarios.
Yeah, what are some of those? Because I'm sure the audience listening would love to know, what are some of the most interesting disciplines or stressful situations that they force you guys into?
Without question, the most stressful situation they put you in throughout training is something called it's called confidence training, pool week. Basically, you have scuba diving gear on. You have tanks on your back. You have a blacked out mask where, you have the mask on, but you can't see. And you're swimming around the bottom of a pool, basically just kind of like one hand in front of you, going real slow. And what happens is an instructor will dive down. They'll pull your regulator out of your mouth, shut your air off, and basically smash you against the bottom of the pool and try to take your tanks, wrestle with you for 15 seconds. And then during this time, of course, you can't breathe. You're, at deep underwater.
I'm already feeling the stress now, man.
If you bolt to the surface, your lungs will explode.
Really?
And then you're trained on that ahead of time. So this is basically
why is that your lungs would explode?
When you're breathing, at depth under pressure, and essentially when you would rise and ascend to the surface, that the partial pressure of that gas would expand, and ultimately your lungs can't expand that much.
Wow, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's some serious stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, they fuck you up for 15 seconds and try to take your tanks away from you, try to make you as uncomfortable as possible, and they leave you alone. And then you have to put yourself back together strategically, following a process that they've trained you on. And you have to do it in a very specific order. And again, it's hard, man. It's hard as hell. You're under extreme duress. Your brain is just saying, give me air, give me air, give me air. And they basically at that point, they're testing your ability to operate in the most uncomfortable situation possible, and really just be comfortable being uncomfortable. So that was hard for me, man.
Yeah.
I got very, very close to a point where I didn't successfully make it through. It was a new thing for me, and honestly, I didn't like the feeling of not being able to breathe and having someone smash me repetitively off the bottom of a pool. But it serves a purpose. It weeded a lot of people out.
And how often would you guys do those exercises?
Oh, it was a week, man. And it got progressively hard. You start with they're called light hits, and it progressively goes up to hard hits. And then you do it with a buddy where you and another guy are doing, and they come down, and then you have to work together. They take his air, and then you have to share air. So it's pretty intense, man.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's you call it confidence training. It definitely, when you successfully make it through, you definitely stand a little straighter.
For sure, that makes sense. What's another one? Maybe another one or two things.
Just like the physical training, right? The standards for the special programs, the military, which are your Navy SEALs, your EOD techs, your divers, and your SWCC members. they're higher than the normal fleet. So, when you're in school, like they test you every so often as it pertains to your physical fitness, and like your times will go down as far as what you're required to do to pass. The number of push-ups and pull-ups go up, and that really wasn't so hard. It was more like the training for that when they run you 5 to 12 miles. I mean, the toughest runs that I've ever been on were the short, fast runs.
Really?
Yeah, we ran 13 miles in sand before at a slow pace, and that was easier than a fast 3-mile run. So,
wow.
what the instructors would do is, you run for a long time, and when they get tired, and of course all the students are exhausted at that point,
right,
and they stop, and then they make you do like just thousands of push-ups and sit-ups and flutter kicks and all that, while they catch their breath. And it's not the physical training. I mean, that's hard at that point. It's as you're doing it, exhausted, like ready to die, them coming up and just getting in your ear and yelling and talking shit, and you having to be able to control your ego at that point and just be respectful and answer respectful and do what they're telling you to do. And that's again, I mean, that's a testament of someone's of whether or not they can handle the hard shit.
Yeah. What did that teach you about life? Because I'm sure in it was a lesson that your mind is obviously more capable of things than you think it is, or comfort will kick in.
Yeah.
I'm sure it applies. So, like, what are some takeaway lessons for people out there listening that you got from the extreme deep sea diving stuff?
Yeah. I mean, so I don't think at the time really it was immediately apparent.
Yeah.
But, looking back on it, I mean, it's like life is hard. It's supposed to be hard. And when you understand that, when you realize that, we're supposed to be seeking out discomfort, right? Like when we have these little voices that come in our head that say, no, don't do that, and let's stay away from that because it'll make us feel
this or whatever.
You got to realize like what that is. I mean, that's just your primitive brain, like your instincts from 2 million years ago that are just telling you to avoid anything that's uncomfortable. And honestly, that's like the opposite of what you want to do in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to seek out discomfort, because at the other end of discomfort is where great things happen. It's where confidence is earned. It's where pride is accomplished. It's how we essentially feel good about ourselves. I mean, most people wake up every day and they feel like shit and they wonder why. And it's because they're not doing things to challenge themselves. They're not doing things to get better. And that's something I think that if we're aware of the fact that it's supposed to be hard, it's supposed to be uncomfortable, it's not always gonna fucking feel good. It's gonna actually not feel good on a lot more days than you do feel like doing it.
Yeah.
Like that's super normal. And I think what people understand, when they can embrace and accept that, it makes it a little easier to kind of push through those days and such.
Absolutely, yeah. Like they say, progress equals happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me a little bit about how the business came about, because you leave the military at 23, starting to go to school, unsure of what to do. When does business start coming on your mind?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. So we'll talk about my first business, which there's no LLC or anything like that. But I decided to work in a strip club after the military when I was going to school. The reason I chose the strip club is because I knew a guy who could get me a job there where I would get paid cash, and that I could do that and still get the money from the Montgomery GI Bill benefit. So if you have a normal job, they don't pay you as much.
Right.
So started working the strip club, which was a losing decision for me. Just that environment, like being around just that lifestyle, man. It just
that vibe of people and customers and clientele and
clientele, the girls. My other coworkers, just wasn't for me. And I kind of started bringing back some of my old patterns.
Some self-sabotage patterns.
I was getting in fights at work with the customers. I was messing with the girls. Like it was bad. I mean, started drinking at work, just getting fucked up at work, just so I could like have a little better of a time there. And it got to the point that I hated it so much that I quit to become a drug dealer. Honest to God. And that was my first business.
So after being a deep sea diver, you go into drug dealing.
Yeah.
Wow. How old were you at that time?
24-ish.
24.
Yeah, 24. I sold anabolic steroids for the majority of my 20s.
Really?
Yeah.
And you were doing well financially?
I mean, it's all relative, right? Like at the time, at like the pinnacle of my steroid dealing business, shall we call it, I was making some money. It was all cash, but I mean, my
Yeah.
bills were nothing. My standards were much lower then. So like,
Right.
I didn't have the same
Context of possibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, at the time, I was making decent money.
Yeah.
But you develop a certain way of doing things, and that money, it's coming easy. You're not really working hard for it. And
Right.
like, I'm partying 5 nights, and no discipline. I'm spending all the money. I'm making
Yeah.
the money, but it's going out and buying shit up I can't really afford. Going out,
Yeah.
getting bottle service,
Girls and
4 or 5,
clubs and all that,
100%, man. Showing out, trying to act and portray myself as someone and something that I clearly was not, because
what were
I
you-
was super insecure.
What were you telling people that you were actually doing?
I had a couple little stories.
Yeah.
The primary one was, I had a buddy that was in the car business, and I would say that I would go to auctions
Yeah.
and buy cars and flip them, and I did do that like twice.
Yeah.
To
yeah.
my to
so
to
that was
my
good enough to have stories
yeah, but that's
for
what
them.
that.
Yeah.
But dude, anybody with half a brain or knew what was going on knew exactly what was up, and
Yeah.
that was to make me feel better, and it really didn't accomplish that objective, but. I lived that lie. I lived
Yeah.
that lie for a long fucking time, man. And I, like, just going out partying all the time, like, just not giving a fuck. Like, it got to a point where, like, other drug dealer friends of mine started to, go to prison, get in trouble, go down. Everybody's telling on everybody.
Right.
And I started to really develop an awareness of that, of what was going to happen to me 100% if I didn't start making some changes. And I just got sick and tired of living a lie. It literally got to a point where one day, and I remember where I was, I remember who I said it to. I was talking to this woman, and she asked me, what I did. That's when you meet somebody, that's the
First
formality.
question, yeah.
And this was the 20,000th time that the lie had come out of my mouth. But when it did, I remember feeling just just nauseated, and just anxiety, and just every shitty emotion like I'd ever felt before, like times 100. And it just overwhelmed me. And I realized at that point that I had to start making some fucking changes. I did not know what it is I wanted to do. I didn't know what I could do. I just knew that I was put on this planet to serve a higher purpose. And I knew that based off the fact that I was even thinking that way. I knew that, like, because I wanted to make these changes, that had to that had to mean something, right? Like that had to, it just did. And I had no idea what to do. Like, right? Like, how do you get started? That's like everybody's biggest.
What's step one? What's the logo? What do I do? How do I sell?
Yeah. So when I decided to start making these changes, it wasn't just like, all right, I'm gonna stop selling steroids now and just kind of be this.
Just like that, yeah.
Dude, like, you still have bills. You still have to
Right.
take care of your life, as it were. I basically went to someone that I respected, and I put my cards out on the table, and I said, listen, man, this is what I've been doing, and I feel like shit about it. And I want to be a good person. I haven't been a good person. I own that. But I'm committed to doing whatever it fucking takes for as long as it takes to make that happen. But I was like, honestly, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start.
And how old were you at this time?
About 26.
Okay, 26.
Yeah, dude, this is not, I'm 35 now, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I just walked away from that life completely, 2011, 2012. So, basically he told me 2 things. He said that I needed to start investing in my personal development, and he told me that I needed to start surrounding myself with people who were better than me. He said it just like that. Didn't say people who were more successful. He said people who are better than me, and it really resonated with me. And
was this a mentor or a coach? Or?
he was a good friend who I absolutely looked up to in that regard. He had been successful with a lot of things, and he was someone who, like, I was proud to know, and and also someone I had access to, right?
True, yeah.
That's a hard thing. It's like, where do you start? Like, and sometimes people don't have people to turn to. I was fortunate enough to have him, and those 2 things. I mean, they changed my life. I mean, at the time, there were Tony Robbins YouTube videos. That's how I got my start back
Absolutely,
in 2010.
my man.
Yeah, dude.
Tony Robbins
The GOAT.
changed my life too. Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I literally, so started watching his videos,
Yeah.
and the thing that Tony says and has said and consistent is, like, if you want to be successful, look at someone who's successful and do what they're doing. And honestly, like, I was like, I could do that. And I was like, well, I'm watching you, Tony Robbins. I'm going to start doing like the shit that you did. So I started like going to shelters, man, and volunteering my time. I was blowing all the money I was making. So like I didn't have the ability or the resources to make like charitable donations and such, but I did have my time, and I went and started, volunteering to, serve the homeless and things like that. And I went not because like I wanted to be like a good person or like that was important to me, and I felt this sense of obligation to get. I went because, again, Tony Robbins said that that's a thing that he did to help change his life. So like I went for kind of like selfish reasons, and honestly, immediately the first time that I did it, I felt something that at that point in my life, 26 years, I'd never felt before. I felt just deep feelings of gratitude and purpose. And I decided that I needed to do something with my life to not only, right the wrongs and all the shitty things that I've done, but I needed to do something that emphasized and focused around serving others and helping people. Because I wanted those feelings. I wanted that feeling that I got, that I experienced that first time. I wanted that all the time. So, basically stayed on the personal development path, started reading a lot of books. I was reading like 400 to 500 page book a week, which is impressive, at the time. But I mean, keep in mind, I was a drug dealer. I didn't have a normal schedule. I slept till the sun was warm and went to the gym.
You're on your own.
Started reading a lot of stuff and doing what I could to get out there and just be a good person. Just trying to be just a good human being. And eventually, an opportunity presented itself to start the company that that obviously I have now, and it
was Nutrition Solutions.
But it wasn't like something I sat down and like constructed a business plan for. I've never wrote a business plan in my life. Like it's not something I just wrote up this like mastermind and went and like got investors. I literally I started it to fill a void for my own personal needs. I mean, I was always into fitness, working out, but there wasn't like a lot of resources back then to obtain healthy food. And I certainly didn't want to cook, didn't know how to cook, had no desire to learn or cook. And I knew some other guys that, were in need of the same thing. And I saw an opportunity there. And basically when I started the company, it was basically me purchasing X amount of meals for like 10 of my friends and myself from a catering company, subcontracting, and then buying them for them and then flipping them for a shitty low profit. Literally.
So buying them for like $6, selling them for $8 or something.
Lower than that.
Really?
Oh my God. Yeah. But again, like at the time, remember, like I had no overhead, right? I was using a catering company who had the staff, who had the facility and all that. So like very untraditional, like startup situation. It got to the point where like, there wasn't a lot of people out there that were doing what I'm doing then, and like more and more people like were gaining interest. And it's crazy that I was able to grow the business back then to any degree because like the food was shit, the product was shit, the service like.
What year did you start?
2011.
Okay.
Yeah, like I wish like. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but I wish like back then, like the pictures and the phone and all that. Like the food back then, I wouldn't even feed it to my fucking dog now. Like honestly, I mean, I think that's a testament of like the standards that I've raised and such. But it's just super interesting, and
you just did the best you could with what you had and just kept running.
And that's kind of the mentality that I've taken with this company. It took a good 5 years to get to a point where I was actually committed, and that was actually inspired. 2000 and end of 2011, 2012 is when I walked away from my past life as a drug dealer. In I believe it was August of 2015, about 3 years ago, I come home from work one day. I remember having a good day. At this point, things are going pretty good for me. Not anywhere near where I'm at now, but relative to the time, things are going good. I remember I had an awesome day, good vibes. I felt like I just felt accomplished, man. I just felt proud of like what was happening. And it was so fucking crazy because I didn't always feel like that, but this day I did. I came home, and I walked into the lobby of the building I was living in at the time, and there were these two guys that were like standing on opposite ends of the hallway, and they're normal clothes, and I was like, "What's up, guys? How you doing?" Like just trying to put out more good vibes.
Right.
And they're like, "Hey," and then they kind of stood up, and they're like, "Chris?" I'm like, "Yeah." They reach in their shirts, pull out badges. They said, "Tampa Police Department, you're under arrest."
Shit.
So
Yeah.
I was in fact arrested for crimes that I had committed, not allegedly committed, I definitely committed them 3 years prior.
Wow.
Yeah, I was set up by someone who was my friend at the time, and for whatever reason, I couldn't give you the reason as to why they waited 3 years,
Right.
but they did. And you talk about, turning your entire life upside down.
Yeah, in a moment.
So just recap. I had transitioned away from being a drug dealer, had started this business, actually got to a point now where we were legitimate. I wasn't very good. I mean, I still don't think I'm very good, but
Right.
I was in a much better place. I was growing, I was learning. And
the company was probably doing 6 figures at the time.
yeah, we're doing 6 figures at the time. Probably not making a lot of money, or I'm not keeping it again.
Right, yeah.
And all of a sudden, my past, karma, comes knocking. And basically, the DEA and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, where the crimes had committed, from start to finish, I mean, they gave me a firm plea deal offer of 2 years in prison. Firm.
Wow.
That's what they started with. And
Yeah.
when you get in trouble and there's like jail time at stake, it's like a business negotiation. You go in, whoever puts out the first offer, like it's high, then you come back, and then when you meet like somewhere, that wasn't the case with this. Literally, they would not budge on that. They when I got arrested, they wanted me to cooperate. They wanted me to give them information, set someone up, and I just told them. I mean, at this point in my life, like I had really accepted responsibility over making the changes that I'd done to even like get to a point where I could start a business and think that way.
Right.
And
Yeah.
taking responsibility was a huge initiative in that campaign from me, like trying to become a better human being. So I couldn't fathom even entertaining the idea of destroying somebody else's life because I was unwilling to be held accountable for my actions.
Shit. So what'd you do when they gave you the plea deal?
I mean, I fought, man.
Yeah.
I went all in on my legal defense, and literally it cost me everything. I mean, my bail was $500,000.
Wow.
$500,000 for steroid charges. And I'm not minimizing what I did. I mean, I got set up for 2 things. I mean, I've committed hundreds, if not thousands. Right. So like, it's not. It's just.
It was bound to happen at some degree.
It's just when it happened. It's just I thought that I was good.
You were free. Yeah.
I fucking thought I was good. I even moved away from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Where I was that person.
So were those 2 guys? Was it kind of like almost like in the movies where the 2 guys are in the lobby just nonchalant, and then they pull out badges and just right then and there arrest you? Everyone's looking.
No. These guys treated me really good.
Wow.
One of the guys knew who I was. He said, "Hey, man," he's like, "I know who you are. I respect what you're doing." He's like, "Look, I would love to just go up. Let's go up to your place and we'll talk about this and I'll let you know what needs to happen from here." And my initial reaction was like, well, I don't think my lawyer would want me letting you in I thought that was their way to like, and he's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "I don't have a warrant for your house." He's like, "I just don't want your neighbors to see what's going on."
Yeah.
And the guy knew he knew a little bit about me, so he knew that
you were turning it around.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, man, that made me feel good at that time. I mean, in that fucked up situation, it made me feel good. And I went in the house. They let me use my phone for like 45 minutes. They let me eat.
Yeah.
And basically
Get some meal preps.
Yeah. That
Wow.
They basically said, "Oh, look," they called ahead to ask what my bail was, so I could start making whatever preparations, let whoever know. And the person that came on the other end of the radio was like, "Oh, it's 500." And he's like, oh, 500. He's like, dude, you're good. He's like, honestly, I've never seen one that low before.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, good. This is nothing. I'll get to this and I'll own this. It's part of my story and da.
Yeah.
Dude, when I'm getting processed now at the jail, I go up to the I guess the
window,
like
or
a
whatever.
cashier, the window, right?
Yeah.
And they're reading your charges and taking inventory of your property. And I was like, I'd like to go ahead and pay my bail now, which doesn't normally happen, right? People normally have to get bail bondsmen to come or family members, and I'm like really, really confident. I'm paying my bail now, my Louis Vuitton wallet, whatever, And she's like, okay, do you know how much it is? I was like, yep, it's $500. And then she's like, okay, and goes little computer, a couple clicks, little types, whatever, and then she's like, oh, that's not. I was like, sorry. And she's like, how much is your bail? And I said, they told me it was $500. And she's like, I think there's a little mistake or misunderstanding, because what I have here is different. And she grabs a little Post-it and writes on the Post-it and then slides it across the thing. And there was a 5 and 5 zeros. $500,000 was my bail. And that, you want to talk about that feeling, it was bad. And that was a message. That was a clear message from the police prosecution that they weren't fucking around. They were trying to set an example, trying to make an example. And I sat in jail for a week until I was able to get together the money that I needed to bail myself out.
Right.
Which was only 10% of that.
Yeah, it's about 50,000. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I basically went and got a lawyer, told him my situation, and I was like, listen, I was like, I don't have any interest. He's like, oh, we'll have to get the recordings and this and that. And we can say this. And I was like, I honestly don't have any interest in trying to deny what has happened here. I said, I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence. I was like, I was this person, 100%. I was like, and honestly, I just don't know that I would be able to maintain a straight face or my composure and try to act
lie or manipulate.
I'm gonna expect opposing counsel and a judge and possible jurors to believe that the only 2 times I ever committed a crime, I just happened to be set up for it by an informant. I was like, that's crazy, and they'll hammer me.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, I said, I realize that this isn't the popular thing, and I know I'm paying you to tell me what to do here. I was like, but I have to own this. I just do. I have to own this, and I'm prepared to deal with the consequences. But I want to do this the right way. And I believe that getting the best attorney was a good start with that. And he's like, okay. He's like, I respect that. He's like, I can't promise you any sort of favorable outcome here, but I can promise you that I will fight by your side, and I will do everything I can to produce the best result. And dude, the next 2.5 months was hell.
Yeah.
That was a very scary point of my life. I was having to keep up with all my normal shit, run my business, and deal with this unknown, and essentially prepare my life to go away for 2 years. I mean, that was a lot. And
for sure.
I was very, very positive to the outside world. A lot of people were very impressed and didn't know how I was, how are you able to, because I stepped up my community involvement. I started going really, really hard with my business. I actually went and did a fitness competition, won the fitness competition, never had won one before. So, on the surface, a lot of people are like, wow, you're a fucking beast.
Yeah, he's got it together.
Dude,
yeah.
Behind closed doors, I was contemplating, not just contemplating, I had mapped out a sequence of taking my own life. The pressure was, it was crazy. And it wasn't because I didn't think I could make it in prison for 2 years. I knew I'd be fine with that. And I actually thought that, I was like, you know what, if I go to prison for 2 years, this will just add to the story, and it'll add to the fucking comeback. But the thing that really fucked me up was, at that time, like I said, my business was doing okay. I had some employees, man. I was a much smaller operation then. So maybe there was 12, 13.
Right.
So I was a lot more intimate and personal with them. And I just started just becoming obsessed with the idea of like, my business wasn't going to make it without me. Impossible. And it probably wouldn't have lasted more than 2 weeks. And I just started thinking about like what would happen to them, what would their lives look like, how it would affect them, how it would affect their families. And it really made me realize, I was like, I can't go to prison. I got to fight. I have to fight. I have to do everything in my power, focus on what I can control, which was a lot, right? Like even though I was going through hardship, even though I didn't know if I was going to be sent away for 2 years, I could still do some good things. I could still go out and, do things in the community and make my presence known with that. I could still go hard with my business. I could look for ways to improve. And honestly, like I built up a little bit of momentum. And
Right.
I remember the day that I was to be sentenced. It was a very, actually a funny story about that day.
You probably didn't sleep the night before either.
Actually, I did. Because
you?
I didn't sleep for like a week leading up to that. So I'm living in Tampa at the time.
Right.
I was to be sentenced in Jacksonville. I'm staying at a hotel in Jacksonville. And I somehow managed to fall asleep around 4 a.m. of the day that I'm to be sentenced. I'm sitting there sleeping. I don't remember if I was dreaming or not.
Right.
The fucking fire alarm in the building goes off.
Wow.
Dude, you want to talk about the most, like, I just shot, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah, that's how I started my day, But that was, that was a big day.
It's insane.
I walked in, approached the courtroom, and I knew that there was a very strong possibility that I'd be walking in that day, and I might not be walking out on my own free will.
A free man, yeah.
And as I approached, and I'll never forget how shitty that felt and just how defeating, and it was all out of my hands right now. And that's not used to that, right? Like if there's a problem, I normally, it's like, all right, well, I'm in control of the solution.
How old were you right here at this time?
20, or no, this was 3 years ago, man. I'm 35 now, I was 32.
32,
I
wow.
walk up outside the courtroom, man, there was about 100 people out there that showed up to support me, to speak on my behalf as a character witness, or just to be there, just to show their support.
Moral
And
support, yeah.
It was honestly, to that point, it was probably the best feeling that I'd ever had in my life. And of all days for that to happen.
Yeah.
So, I go in there and I sit down, and the judge, they start reading your charges and letting you know. We went to the judge for sentencing, and basically the 2 years was the offer that they gave us. When you go for sentencing, and if they find you guilty, normally they hit you with more. The 2 is to save the time and the money, the tax dollars, the energy, and it's a plea deal. She's reading all the charges, and it's very real now. And she's going over all the different charges and what the possible, sentences for each. We're talking like a lot of years. I'm like doing the math in my head. I mean, it's like the worst feeling. I got all these people behind me, and Omar, in a shocking turn of events, like someone comes in from the outside, approaches the bench. My lawyers run up there, talking to the other lawyers. They go outside. I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah.
And there's just like commotion back and forth. And my attorney comes up to me and he's like, relax, like, we got this. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Thank you. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Basically, the police prosecutor, literally as we had started the sentencing, had come in and agreed to pull their recommendation, and basically gave the judge full discretion to do. Normally the judge will make a decision based off of what the prosecution want. They have that working relationship, and that was massive. The judge asked my attorneys if she could address me in the courtroom. Of course they said yes. You're not gonna say no to the judge. And honestly, man, I'm thinking all right, she's about to destroy me now and say
it's all over, yeah.
I'm going to be lectured and embarrassed at my weakest, kick me when I'm down type shit. And she basically looked at me in the eye and she said, Mr. Cavallini, I've been doing this a lot of years, been on this bench over 2 decades, and I have never seen a more impressive mitigation packet in all the time I've been doing this. The mitigation packet is basically like the packet, the testimonials, the character references and stuff, and the narrative of someone who was up there for obviously being, breaking the law. And she said, basically, we send, in the state of Florida, we send people to prison, and the purpose of prison is rehabilitation. She said, I believe you've done that on your own, and it is remarkable what you've been able to do with your life and what you've been able to do to help other people with their lives. And she said something that literally, this is saying like it makes me emotional. She said that I should be really proud of what I've done.
Wow.
And in that situation, that is the absolute last thing you would ever expect to hear or to have happen. And honestly, it was an amazing feeling. And she then gave me a new lease on life. She didn't send me to prison. She didn't send me to jail. I got probation. I got a year probation with special circumstances. I ended up getting off in 6 months because I was like the poster child for felony probation candidates.
Of course, you took it very carefully after that.
Of course, but that day was a turning point for me. I realized at that point that, I was on really borrowed time, and I should be in prison. I was given a new lease. I was given an opportunity. I was given the keys to the kingdom, and it was up to me to take advantage of that. And that was the turning point for me as far as when I started going all in, not only on my business, but just going all in on every fucking thing I do.
So when you went back to life, you got that second chance or probably even third chance or more at that stage. When you go back to business, are you going into it with a newfound sense of intensity and focus and gratitude? Are you not wasting time? What was the biggest shift this time around in business?
So at that point, my business wasn't doing very good. That process had taken up a lot of energy.
Sure, and sucked revenue and all that, yeah.
And, I also took a little bit of a reputation hit as well. There's a lot of people that didn't, want to. A lot of people showed their true colors at that time, which was good. I'm grateful that they did that.
Right.
But it happened both. It happened both, like the true colors as far as like not good, and then other people showed their true colors and made me realize how just fortunate I was to have some people around me that really fucking cared. When shit got hard, and like my life was literally like on the verge of just completely falling apart. I had some people that were there to
in your corner,
pick me up, man, and that's what I fucking needed.
Yeah.
So I started going hard for them. I started going hard for my team. I started going hard because I felt I owed that to the universe. And again, and still to this point in my life, I feel there's definitely a lot more things that I've done that I'm not proud of than things that I am. But I realize that every day I wake up with an opportunity to take action to bridge that gap. And then that's a responsibility I take very seriously. So, present day, we're doing pretty good. We definitely need to get better, and no shortage of areas. But, if you put out the charts year after year, not only are the numbers going up, this business is not going to ever be the thing that, makes me a crazy amount of wealth.
Right.
But the team, our culture, the details. One thing that, a responsibility that I accepted as kind of part of my penance to the world when I got that new lease is I've obviously been able to successfully make some changes and go from kind of one end of the spectrum to the other. And it wasn't luck. It wasn't something that was gifted to me. It wasn't anything but a direct consequence of specific actions that I took. So I essentially took on the ultimate responsibility of teaching other people how to do that. And that's why we're here now. And this is a perspective that I take not just with the outside world when I speak or on social media, but with my team. I am proud to say, I employ dozens of convicted felons. I have a lot of people that work for me that have been homeless, that currently live in halfway houses.
Yeah.
And I have opened up our culture as one of acceptance, personal responsibility, and basically setting up our mission statement and core values in such a way where these people have an opportunity that they couldn't get anywhere else because this disqualifies them for that and whatever. I take on the responsibility of giving people an opportunity to not be defined by like a past decision or a series of decisions, and essentially come in and do the shit they need to do to create a better lives for themselves and for their families. Because
How do you quality control when you're hiring, convicted felons or people that are homeless? How do you build a business of quality work ethic? Not to say that they can't do that, but chances are that they probably don't have the proper training or
brother,
habits in place.
it is so fucking hard. Like I'm not going to sit here and say
Yeah.
it's easy. I know it sounds really good. Oh,
Right,
well, this
yeah.
guy's a really good guy.
Yeah.
Dude, like it is so fucking hard. It is so stressful. And honestly,
Yeah.
it doesn't always work out. But if when it's all said and done, if 3 out of 10 do, dude, we're winning.
Yeah.
And those 3 people,
Life's changed forever. Yeah.
fucking everything has changed forever. So, in answer to your question, to give you like a tangible answer, we basically have a structure set up where personal development is mandatory in our company, whether you're a convicted felon, a former drug addict, or just a kid like coming in trying to like figure out his way in the world. Personal development is mandatory. Our entire building is wired. We have speakers in every section of our building that we play some form of personal development, whether it's an audiobook, a podcast, a video. So we're feeding their minds, we're conditioning their minds, teach them how to think on a higher level. Where our core values are something we take very seriously. It's not just like the poster you put up, the little quote that you have. Like it's applying it to the daily actions that you take. And the first and most critical step that we look for when it comes to people that have a past is, are they willing and have they accepted responsibility over it? Or is it someone else's fault and this happened because of this and they were a victim of circumstance and whatever?
Do they own it or not? Yeah.
That right then, that is everything. And you don't need much to work in my company, man. There's only like 2 sets of criteria. You need to have a good attitude and be willing to work hard. We invest a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of energy, a lot of money into training and into personal development, because I care about my team, man, and I don't want them just to be better assets at our company. I want them to be better human beings. And my objective with everybody that comes in and starts to work with our company is I want them to get so good at what they do and grow within our company to the point where they can't grow anymore, and they end up leaving us and going somewhere because they've earned a better opportunity. And nothing, and I honestly mean nothing, makes me more fulfilled than when those situations happen, and they have happened. And it's a pretty cool thing, man, when you look at the accounts, you get more money going in the accounts and whatever.
Yeah.
Like that is honestly nothing in comparison to when you see like someone who was washing dishes, started washing dishes, and now he's part of a different department. He's checking other people, doing quality assurance, like talking in front of the team when, he used to be like in the dish pit, like with his head down.
You see them moving up, developing their character.
It's the most, I mean, man, like I said, it just makes me fucking feel good. It makes me feel good. And I feel that I put a lot of value in that. A lot of value, which is why I've exhausted a lot of energy and stress and time. And I mean, I worked really, really hard to get to this point, man. And saying it wasn't easy is a fucking joke of an understatement. I mean, there's been times where, like, I questioned whether or not it was worth it, and it was like, I could be doing something else and putting this much energy and making so much more money, and then I just then when like my cortisol levels like normalized,
Wow.
and my IQ goes back to normal, I realized, like, yeah, but that wouldn't make me fucking happy.
Yeah.
One of your guys asked me before we started filming, he's like, I saw your McLaren. Like, does it feel good every time you drive it?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, honestly, it does.
Yeah.
But it's like I would be completely fine if you stripped all my cars. It's a different kind of good feeling. It's a different kind of good feeling, and you know, I think a lot of people miss huge opportunities every day that are there to not only, you know, just make little improvements in their life, but just to be a good person and help other people, because we all can do that in many ways, but it does require energy. It requires a certain level of commitment. But man, like when you help people selflessly with no expectation of anything in return, not only are you going to help them get better, like that shit comes back around.
Yeah, absolutely.
In abundance. So like a lot of people that, you know, might be selfish and they act in only ways that are self-serving and consistent with personal gain and such. Dude, like if you're selfish and you want personal gain, I mean, then you should be helping other people, because that's an organic consequence. And it just feels good, man. It feels good to be able to see people get better and see people develop and just teach them the things that like have helped me like kind of bridge the gap between where I was, where I am now, and, you know, where I'm going. And it comes down to just a few things. I mean, it comes down to very basic things, like just taking pride in everything you do, whether you like it or not, whether it's monotonous, whether it's a small task. Dude, the only way to get to a point where you're able to do big things is by becoming a master of the little things. And I think that's a concept a lot of people have a hard time kind of, you know, accepting.
Calibrating. Yeah, that makes sense. So let me ask you this. How long did it take you from the day you were in the courtroom where you got out scot-free to becoming a millionaire? How long did that take?
I wouldn't say I got out scot-free.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got a year probation.
Yeah.
That was 3 years ago. So my thing used to be financial goal was I needed to have $1 million in the bank. That was it. I was like, I needed to have $1 million in the bank. Like, I'm not winning unless I have $1 million in the bank.
Right.
Because, you know, over the years, like 2015 and 16, like we made some money.
Right.
And at the end of the year, when it came time to pay taxes after that, it's like, well, where the fuck is all the money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
By the time you pay expenses and everything, yeah.
Or just you're blowing money on things and not realizing how quickly that shit adds up. 2017 was a breakthrough year for me, and it was at the beginning of this year, I believe, I had stacked 7 figures, and it went from me obsessing about having $1 million in the bank. When it finally fucking happened, I was freaking the fuck out that I had $1 million in the bank and not $1 million out here working for me to bring me more money, because my awareness changed, my priorities changed, like my level of education changed. So yeah.
Nice, man. That's
So
incredible.
it is truly one of those things where it's like, you know, I've been doing this like 7 years. It took me 6 years to start like actually really like making what most people would think like a lot of money.
Right.
But it did kind of happen. It seemed like it happened like 1 month to the next, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it's always going to feel. It's like,
What's the current business model for people curious about the actual business? So you guys do meal preps for people all over. I know you guys have some celebrity clients.
So,
you got Rob Gronkowski from the New England Patriots.
Yep. Rob uses us. Rob uses us when he travels, and so basically we do healthy meals. We customize meals for people that are looking to accomplish their goals, whether it's, you know, lose weight, build muscle, just overall be healthier, look better naked, whatever it is. Obviously, there's a real problem like in this country right now. You know, just address the elephant in the room. Like, legitimately, 3/4 of the adult population in this country are categorized either overweight or obese. I mean, there's 190 billion being spent treating obesity-related illness for the first time in the history of the human species. The average human's life expectancy is actually going down. That's fucking crazy. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And the issue that I have with that is, you know, not only are 70% of these illnesses, these obesity-related illnesses, preventable, it's like we're doing it to ourselves with the decisions we make every day, with the things we're putting in our mouth and in our body. And, a lot of people are doing it because everybody around them is doing it. So it's like, oh, it's okay. And it's like, no, it's fucking not okay.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of okay. So like, a way for me to kind of follow through with what I had committed to doing when I was given my second chance 3 years ago, and like taking it to a whole other level. When I had this business, but I wasn't focused on really helping people and making an impact. I was focused on like trying to make as much money
As possible, yeah.
So after my sentencing, that's when I changed the perspective, man, and I started really like looking for ways and opportunity to actually make our business more successful by making more of our clients successful. So our business model is more than just like us providing our clients meals. We have a team, an allocated team of National Academy of Sports Medicine certified fitness and nutrition specialists and weight loss specialists that essentially are there to kind of like support, coach, hold their clients accountable, and basically, like give them the occasional kick in the ass if they're slacking. We put a lot of energy. That's the biggest thing, man. Consistency. Consistency is everything, and literally the solution to every problem that you might have in your life comes down to a lack of consistency. So we understand that life gets crazy. People are super busy. People have kids. People have stress at work, whatever the case is. So we try to do a good job, and definitely need to work on getting a little better of not only making sure we have like the best product, the best tasting meals, the most like diverse menu, but that we're doing what we can to hold our clients accountable, coach them up, and just let them know like, hey, like if you get off track, we're here to help you get back on track.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. So it's not just meals; it's support beyond it.
I mean, I think that's what makes our company special, man. I mean, you can go anywhere and get food. What I believe makes our company special, aside from we actually care. Like we fucking care, and it starts with us caring about like our team and taking care of the team and getting them to understand that like the direct impact that they are making on the lives of tens of thousands of people. And you have like a dishwasher or a cook, and that person in most organizations, they're focused on the dishes they're washing or the food that they happen to be cooking. But as a leader, I mean, you have responsibility to articulate and explain to them the importance of their role and how that directly contributes to the mission and the big picture. We have to do a good job, cooking those meals to perfection and doing the best job we possibly can to maintain the standard. Because if we don't, and the clients don't like the food, they're not going to stay consistent.
Yeah, they're not going to share it with others.
Moreover, they're not going to accomplish their goals. They're not going to feel good. They're not going to be able to increase their quality of life. So with the dishwashers, I mean, if we're not maintaining the standards and making sure that our equipment is clean, we run the risk of possibly getting someone sick. And then what happens? Then they trash the company, and we have a lot of people out there who don't want to do business with us. People who we otherwise might be able to help them change their life. So like everybody understands the mission, and it allows them to feel that like sense of pride and purpose, and it really conveys not just with their work, but with kind of what's said about us and our company. I mean, our clients know we care, and we go above and beyond. And as I said, it is a priority to us to not only hold them accountable, but make them understand that the reason we're holding them accountable is because we fucking care, and we want to see them accomplish the goals that we've set together when they start with us.
That makes sense. And then also, I noticed that you're one of the most fit people we've ever had on the show. So talk to me about
one of the most or the most.
Probably one of the most, if not the most.
Right, I appreciate
you might
that.
be tied with Ed Milet, so that's good competition.
He is in amazing shape. Yeah.
Absolutely. He's in great shape. But I wanted to ask you, how important has fitness been in your life as it relates to business? I mean, do you feel like you would have been able to do as much as you have been if it weren't for fitness? How important is fitness for you in relation to life?
It's everything, and honestly, it's not just because obviously as the CEO of a nutrition company and something that we're promoting a healthy lifestyle. Obviously, you have to lead by example. I mean, if I was selling like marble tables for a living, I would still maintain the same level of fitness that I currently do, because by having that discipline as it pertains to my diet, having that discipline as it pertains to my workouts, like it not only allows me to like look better, right? That's like the third or fourth like positive consequence of living a healthy lifestyle. It makes me feel better. And by optimizing my life to feel good, it gives me the ability to do more shit, at a higher level. I mean, look, you're not always gonna fucking feel like doing the shit that you need to do to get ahead. But the reality of it is, if you could increase the occurrences and increase like the level of your performance, the level of execution, if you could make yourself more efficient, like would you do that? Like red pill, blue pill. Red pill says yes, but like the red pill is going to the gym. The red pill is eating good consistently. Honestly, like your whole fucking day like could be made dramatically better by starting your day off with a very hard workout, eating the right things, and just like going from there. It's all about momentum, man. And like when you work out, there's some real shit that goes on in your brain. There's a lot of feel-good chemicals that are released, but it's like those chemicals, like you have to earn the right to feel good. You absolutely do, and that's with everything. And like with fitness, I mean, that gives you a very like easy opportunity to earn that right. And doing it at the beginning of the day sets your day up for the win, because you're gonna take that momentum, you take how good you feel, that energy. And you know, most people don't have any energy because they're not working out, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, no,
you know what I'm
sense.
saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's super important, man.
If you don't use it, you lose it. Yeah.
It's super important. The quality of your life is heavily dictated by the quality of the foods that you eat. That's a fact. That's an undeniable fact. And you know, of course, I'm going to say that, right? Though I'm the CEO of this meal prep company,
right?
But it's like it's the God's honest truth. And so many people are conditioned to eating shit every day, and they've gotten used to this like substandard level of how they feel and this substandard level of performance, and it's become the operating norm. When if they just took the time, created the time, and invested in their health and their quality of life and their confidence, literally every fucking area, whether you're talking about work, I mean, being more efficient in the workplace, being able to be more focused, having better mental clarity, the quality of your relationships with your kids. Not only are you going to set a better example for your children, like you'll be able to keep up with them, right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people, unfortunately, I see this all the time. Like, you know, they get in a relationship or they get married and like they let themselves go, they gain a bunch of weight. And it's like, dude, like that's not fair to your partner. Like, not only are you going to lose that flame, like keep in mind, like that person, your significant other, they fell in love with like the fit, like in shape version of you, not the lethargic, like fat, like tired, out of breath downgrade.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's just a fact.
That's a
I think
fact,
people lose sight of this, and they wonder why like their relationships lose passion. It literally the benefits of fitness, the benefits of living an active, healthy lifestyle, working out, eating good, it literally will change your entire life.
What's your best advice to people out there who maybe aren't physically fit right now? Maybe they, you know, I'm sure you've seen it. They try to get in shape. It doesn't work. They get a trainer. They try this gym. They try that gym. New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
They keep falling off the horse, and they're getting older and older maybe and just getting discouraged. What would be your best advice to somebody who's been trying to work out and just stuck in a rut to actually build that momentum to make it a lifestyle?
Yeah. You gotta let the past go. Although you may have failed in the past, it doesn't mean you're a failure. In fact, I would make the argument that if you failed in the past, that's actually leverage. That gives you the opportunity to go about it a different way. You now know what doesn't work. You've proven that you know what doesn't work. So now you have the tactical advantage to go into it with a new mindset, a new perspective. And honestly, I don't want to say a new game plan, because I think the reality of it is a lot of people don't stay consistent with their fitness goals. A lot of people have been unable to follow through with what it is they were once so excited about doing, because after a short period of time, they stop doing the shit that they're supposed to do. They stop doing the things they committed to do, and they start doing it some of the time. And they get frustrated when they don't see results. You got to take responsibility over the fact that you didn't do what you said you're going to do. And you know what? That's okay. That shouldn't frustrate you at this point. It should actually empower you. You know you didn't do the shit that you need to do, so it's like no mystery.
Yeah.
So let's go about it differently now, and let's go fucking get after it and make shit happen. And you know, all those people out there like that roll their eyes and they hear about people making their New Year's resolutions, and dude, like that's weak. Don't do that. Any opportunity that we can have to set a goal, whether it's New Year's resolution, your birthday, Halloween, Labor Day, Memorial Day, fuck all those things. Leverage that.
Yeah.
And understand that when you commit to something, when you set a goal, like that is a commitment that you're making to yourself, and you have a responsibility to honor your commitments 100% of the time and get up and do the shit that you need to do, even and especially when you don't fucking feel like it.
How about when it comes to setting goals? Is that something you set short-term, long-term? What have you found works for you when it comes to setting goals?
It's a really good question, man. And I'm going to be completely honest. I did not start setting goals till the beginning of 2016, which again, this was right around the time I started making all these changes. I didn't start like planning my day or writing goals to the end of 2016.
And you follow like a daily structure, day-to-day, everyday routine, or does it
switch
depending on the day?
there's certain things that I do every single day, and I follow as far as like waking up at a certain time, making sure I work out. But you know, when I'm scheduling my day, I have certain tasks that I put that are not the same. I mean, there are certain days that I check on certain things, but those aren't really things that get scheduled because they're part of my routine. The things that I schedule are the things that are gonna actually move me closer to the next level. The things that are gonna help me, like, you know, like climb and get
move
better.
the needle.
Yeah, but yeah, structure is super important. And honestly, as an entrepreneur, like, dude, that's the most important thing, because you know you don't answer to anybody necessarily unless you're, you know, in a situation where you have like a board or whatever.
Right.
But when you're starting up the first several years, like, you are your own boss, and you have to give yourself that structure and discipline. And you know, setting goals was something that I never did until the beginning of 2016, and 2016 was a breakout year for me, financially with the business. A lot of other things started happening, and then, you know, I was like, wow, like imagine that. So I can't sit here and tell you that the growth our company has seen in the last 3 years, which is over 500%, is a direct byproduct of me like starting to write goals. But I also can't sit here and tell you that it's not. You absolutely have to have goals. If you don't have goals, I mean, like, it's easy to go nowhere if you don't know like where you're fucking going, and then that's unfortunately that's unfortunately what most people do. And it's like they get up and they think that like working hard is enough. Like, I'm working hard. It's like, dude, first of all, working hard, that's like the price of admission. Everybody's working hard, man. Working hard is the bare minimum, and that is the perspective that we need to have, because like it's a very competitive world out there. Whether you choose to admit it or not, I mean, like, there's a game being played out there, and you have to do the things that you need to do to separate yourself from everyone else. And it's very easy to get overwhelmed with the details of the day, or the stress of the hour, or whatever bullshit, or
the
like
email, the thing, absolutely.
There's always something that's gonna happen, which is why you need to have those goals on paper, write them down every fucking day. And honestly, like, the really funny thing about that is, like, you know, you don't actually have to know exactly what you have to do when you know what you want, and you state it, you write it down, and when you're writing it down, you're actually visualizing, right? Visualizing is important. Obviously, nobody has time for that. But when you're writing your goals down, that's actually a visualization technique. So like, give yourself the competitive edge, right? When you know exactly what you want, it's funny, man. Like, the universe and like your subconscious, it has a very funny way of just bringing those things together without you even realizing it.
So true.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because there's been a lot of times where I've been like you know, writing these goals, I'm like, fuck me, like I'm doing all this shit, like, and nothing is happening, and then all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, like, that stuff that I was like stressed out that I was having to do, no, I didn't even realize that not only was taking care of what I consciously knew was taken care of, but that was actually helping me get towards this goal. It's like, what a fucking concept.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So writing your goals down is important, man.
And setting deadlines too, right?
100%. It's part of the work. Like when you set a goal, you're obviously, we know that there's going to be a lot of work that gets put into it. What you have to understand is writing your goals down every day is part of that work. If you can't even do that, save your time, save your energy, and don't even bother setting a goal, because you'll ultimately just be left with disappointment and a painful association towards the goal setting process, which a lot of people have as it pertains to New Year's resolutions. The people that talk shit about other people or roll their eyes when they see the little memes and all that, they feel that way because they have failed in the past. And the reason they failed in the past is because they set a goal because society said, oh, let's set a goal, and everybody else sets a goal. And then what does everybody else do after a short period of time? They fall off. They rest on their laurels, or they quit altogether. So it's easy to give yourself a pass and let yourself off the hook.
Right.
When everybody else is doing it, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Fuck that. I mean, but the question I think, people need to ask themselves is do you want to be like everyone else? And that's a question we need to ask, and when answering, be very honest.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. So let me ask you a couple questions before I wrap up here.
Yeah.
For some of the entrepreneurs watching. First question, number one, is how did you start getting celebrity clients with your meal preps? Obviously, a lot of people in startups, they want to go for attractive clients. Obviously, they want to make a great product. Mm-hmm. But how do you recommend people go about getting, star clients or branding on social media with the right people? How did you do that?
If you want to start attracting, celebrity clientele and higher-end influencers, you have to have a good product. You have to have a good brand. You have to set high standards with your business and your life. And honestly, when you focus and take pride in the small details, good things start to happen. There's no, big time celebrity or influencer that is going to stand by a product that is just complete shit. There actually are some products out there that end up, but
right, yeah.
the relationship doesn't sustain long term, because either A, the celebrity or influencer smartens up and it's like, fuck, I don't want to do business with them, or B, the company doesn't last and they end up going under. So, I can say, oh, well, send this DM to this person or this email, whatever. Focus on the things that you have right now. Everything that you have right now, every single area, every single component of your business, every single part of your day, whether it's your workouts, your diet, the stuff with your business, your customer service, your actual product, look for ways every single day to make things a little better. And understand that is a campaign that never stops, okay? Because the only way to get better results, the only way to live a better life is to raise your standards. And I think, winners, people who are winning at the absolute highest level, they understand that having high standards or uniform high standards across the board, that is how you win. And there's always things that I wake up every day and I literally say to myself in the morning, after I express the gratitude and think about the day, the wins that I'm going to accumulate that day, I sit there and I say to myself, and I think to myself, to this point of your life, you have not done things the best way. So it is your responsibility to go out there and do what you need to do to get better. Because that, you had mentioned earlier, the happiness that everybody looks for, you'll never find happiness if you're out there seeking happiness, right? The people who are looking for that they're going to be frustrated and they're going to feel like shit all the time.
Right.
You find happiness by making progress. The key to happiness in life is progress. And everybody in this room, everybody that's going to see this, you and I, dude, there's 100 things that we can wake up tomorrow and start to work to improve on. And that momentum, it builds, it manifests, it cultivates over to other things. And, mainly it allows you to develop confidence. As an entrepreneur, nothing, and I mean nothing is more important than that.
Yeah, amen.
You have to do, but it's not just, oh, this guy's confident. Like, dude, no, he's not confident. He
Earned it.
developed,
Yeah.
like he earned it. He earned it by like taking the plunge and taking risks and making bold decisions and like getting up when life beat him fucking down. And most people would have quit, given up altogether, and just said, fuck this, I've had enough. He got up, he pulled himself together, and he kept pushing fucking forward. And when you do that, it might not feel good in the moment, but when you get through, when you're in hell and you're willing to fight, scratch, like claw, whatever you got to do to get out of hell, not only do you arrive in a better place, but the opportunity you have just taken advantage of to develop your confidence. I mean, it is going to help you with literally every area of your life, especially your business.
Yeah, no, I love that. How about looking back? What would the young version of Chris, who was out there in and out of jail, in and out of being arrested, what would he say to the Chris now who's got the McLaren, multi-million-dollar business?
Yeah.
What would he say looking at you, and then what would you say looking at that young man who was looking for answers? Like what is a piece of advice, knowing what you know now, you would give that young man?
To answer
Chris?
your first question, what the younger version of me would have said to the current version of me, I mean, probably, fuck you. I would have been a hater to myself. Because that's, back then, like I had an excuse for everything, like why I would never be able to do this or that, or how this in my childhood affected this. Or like, and that's what losers do, right? Losers look for a way to like tear down people who are winning. So that's no doubt what the younger version of me would say to the current version of me. If, I could go back and talk to myself, I would just basically look myself dead in the eye. Just say, listen, everything that's happened to this point in your life, it doesn't define you, nor does it dictate what's going to happen tomorrow or a year from now. But it is 100% on you to understand that and change that fucking narrative. Because the story that I used to tell myself was, I will never be able to do this because of fill in the blank. I mean, I had an excuse for all of it. And dude, like I believed it too. It's probably, for a lot of people who are just hearing me talk for the first time, it's probably difficult, like kind of thinking that I was ever like that. But I mean, it's because I was like that I'm so passionate about this topic. It's like, we have to understand the path forward begins and ends with learning how to think different. You have to learn how to think different, because what you're thinking right now is a byproduct of outside and external influence. And honestly, like a better life, a different life, anything that you could possibly dream of, whether it's personal, professional, material, just emotional, spiritual, it all starts with changing your thinking and adjusting your perspective. And instead of saying things like, well, because, as a kid, I didn't have a good family and I was abused, and, in business, this person fucked me over and like whatever. Instead of like using those stories, which are all horrible things, I'm not discounting that.
Yeah.
But instead of like, using that as an excuse as to like why you can't do something, take responsibility and use that as fire and fuel, and use it as the reason why you absolutely have to. Because you may have been abused, because you've been fucked over, you have to step up. You have to step up and not only like prove a lot of people wrong, but moreover, show people out there that have been through so much worse than you have. And there are so many people out there who have been through unimaginable circumstances. Show other people that it is possible to change. It is possible to get better. Be a resource and a catalyst for positive, lasting change in other people. Take on that responsibility. Understand it's not just about you. It's about making the world a better place during the one and only time that we have to live here. And honestly, that's one of the things that I do, and a huge component that I use to kind of get myself going sometimes, man. Like, it's not just about me and how I feel. The way I feel is irrelevant. You ain't always gonna feel like it. You have to act in despite of your feelings, and you have to understand, like, what's at stake. And a lot of times, there's opportunity there to show other people something that could make a positive impact on their life and potentially create like an organic spider web of just
like a ripple effect of it.
dude.
Yeah.
And I think about that, and I really obsess about that, and I want to play my part to be that guy who starts those spider webs, because I know, like, just based I've been doing this a little while now, using my social media and speaking. It's like I get messages every day from people who say something I said, something I posted, hearing me talk, an interaction, a message that I like something that was so simple and seemingly trivial, like to me, like how it was the catalyst for them to change their life like radically. And they're just taking the time to express gratitude. And it's like, holy shit, like,
how does that feel for you?
dude, it feels fucking amazing. Like, honestly, it feels amazing. And honestly, I'm so grateful when I get those messages, because I know for, every person that takes the time and works up the courage to share that their story, I know that there's, probably 10 other people that did something similar but just didn't reach
message
out.
Or whatever.
So I take it serious, man. It feels fucking amazing. It's what drives me to do the things that I do. But again, like, it's real. It's proven. I mean, this isn't something I made up in my head to pump myself up, to pump you up. Like, look, man, I think we can all agree the world is not the best place it's ever been currently. There's a lot of not so great things that happen on a daily basis, and a lot of things that are kind of, shoved down our throat and we're exposed to, and it results in people not feeling as well as they actually should, living in fear, living in uncertainty, living with anxiety that they shouldn't be living with. So what I say is, do the shit that you need to do the shit that you're supposed to do to just leave your mark in the world and be a catalyst for positive change.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool, my man. Well, last question before we wrap up here and we play a game that we play at the end of every episode is for people out there looking for answers, right? You've had quite a roller coaster of a life. For people out there who are looking for answers, maybe not just in fitness and business, I'm sure you've encountered many people that reach out to you for advice. What would be your best advice to somebody who's just stuck in a rut? Maybe life's not working. Maybe money's not so good, or maybe it is great, but they're not fulfilled and they're looking for answers and they just don't know where to go. If you could condense everything you've learned in your 3.5 decades on this planet, what would be your best 60 seconds or so piece of wisdom to someone out there looking for answers?
Consistency. That is it. That is the solution to all of your life's problems. It is the way that you move forward. It is the way that you will start developing momentum and earn the right to feel good about yourself. People wake up every day and feel, I believe, entitled to like just feeling good. And what they fail to understand is this isn't elementary school anymore. Like elementary, it's not like
graham crackers and apple juice anymore. Yeah.
It ain't that. Like, the world can be a very unforgiving place. It is your responsibility to do the things that you need to do to earn the right to feel good about yourself. And honestly, that should make you feel that should actually relieve you, because nobody is holding you back from doing the things that you need to do to earn that right. Nobody's holding you back from getting in shape, to developing more structure and discipline with your routine, to getting more consistent at work, to taking on additional responsibility at the office, which will ultimately like lead you to a better position, a better opportunity, and earn more money. It's all about consistency. Things take time, okay? But if you go and you're only doing the things that you need to do 70% of the time, expect to get 0% of the fucking result. Consistency is everything. Look back at your past failures. Understand why they happened. They happened for no other reason. You didn't do all the right things and it just didn't work. That's not the way it works. You know what to do. You know what you should be doing. Start doing the things that you need to do every fucking day, not only the days that you feel like it. And understand it's hard, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be.
Powerful, my man. All right, so before we wrap up, we have a game called First Things First. How it works is I'm going to rifle off 10 words or phrases, and then you just tell me the first word or phrase that comes to mind. Make sense?
Yeah.
The only rule is that you can't repeat yourself twice.
Got it.
So you ready? First word, money.
Freedom.
Your past.
learning lesson.
Fitness.
Life.
Your business.
Impact.
Your employees.
Everything.
Failures.
Opportunity.
Your first million.
Won't be the last.
Your McLaren.
Not that important.
Your legacy.
Super important.
And then the last one, you ready? Passion.
Without passion, it is essentially impossible to live a life worth living.
Oh man, thank you so much for being on the
you,
show,
man.
Chris.
Thank you.
It's been an honor.
fun.
Make sure to check out the description below for links and access to Chris and his social media, as well as nutrition solutions. We'll see you guys next time, and until then, thank you for being one of the passionate few.
If you guys enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that subscribe button right now, because every week we bring you the very best in personal development content, interviews, and insight to help inspire you to take your life and your dreams and make them a reality. And also, if you want to know how to book dream guests the same way I have, you can check the link below for my top 3 secrets. So if you have a podcast or a show or whatever it is and you want to collaborate with them, if you click that link below, I'll give you those top 3 secrets to help you get in touch with anybody. And also, don't forget that The Passionate Few is available on media platforms as well. So you can subscribe to the podcast. And until next time, thank you for being one of the passionate few.